Guys, we are recording today in a truck.
The heavy duty one, nonetheless.
Yeah, this is the biggest truck we've driven for the podcast.
This is the largest truck in every way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in this L5D 6500. Now we drove a 4500, I think it was.
We've driven a couple of them. We've had a couple on the show before. We've had quite a few of them come through the shop. I would say, arguably, these things are gaining a lot of popularity in the aftermarket.
Right.
Guys buy these things. They think they're super cool until they drive them. And then it's kind of a domino effect of, lack of power, drivability complaints and issues, which we'll get all into.
It does.
This one is unique, though, because the owner, his name's Andy. Andy has put a badass custom truck bed on this one. So this literally looks like a big, oversized pickup truck.
Yeah. A 10-foot bed, I think it measures out to. It's on a 6500 chassis, so if you're watching the video, we are doing a video version of this one, guys, so check out the YouTube channel. You'll notice Chris and I bouncing all around. That's because there is not a trailer hooked up to this, which is what this truck is made
suspension,
for.
Yes.
Yes, stock
and it has,
suspension.
I don't know if these are 22.5s, but they have big 37s or 40-inch tall tires. Like, this thing's pretty set up.
It's a step ladder to get in it, for sure. It's a cool truck. It definitely brings me back to my old 4500 days. I love it, but it's obnoxiously large. It's one of those where it makes you wonder if lanes are wide enough when you're out on the road.
Now, some of the stuff that I get when guys, inquire about these, everyone always says, well, the L5D is the same as the L5P, but it just doesn't make the power. The engines themselves, long block-wise, similar.
Sure.
Right? Turbocharger, slightly smaller. But the reality of it is it's calibration related that has that D-rate or that lack of power.
I understand why. We always get asked, why would the factory do this? Well, it's because they expect these trucks to get worked 5 times harder than your normal heavy-duty truck. So
they have to dummy-proof it.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to remember, employees mostly drive these trucks. So somebody who maybe doesn't necessarily have that, personal attachment to the payment or the cost of it, they're the ones behind the wheel. And if they're going to be loaded down with a full truck bed and with a trailer on the back, running up the stupidest pass on the hottest day, will the truck still stand up to warranty? And that's really kind of, I feel like, where they set the power limits and the power delivery. Let's go through some of the basic complaints we get on L5Ds, Chris.
Well, we just had one. So for the listeners, this is a tuned truck. Okay, we have a turbocharger upgrade on here. We've done some upgrades here to make more power. But for this drive along right now, I am at factory power level. So factory fuel rate is 85 MM3. So that's where we're at, tune 0, ground 1. It does have the turbo, which the turbo's not going to do anymore unless you ask it to, which we're not in this tune. So some of the complaints I have, one, speed limiter, right? Very common. Aside from that, it's the lack of power. It's the lethargicness of the throttle. I get a lot of complaints that guys talk about they want to do trans tuning because the trans is constantly upshifting and downshifting. And just like when we hit that hill back there, we were hitting the grade, I had to get into the throttle a little more, and the trans downshifted and then downshifted and then upshifted and then downshifted again. Yeah. Because it doesn't see the torque to maintain that gear. It's a lack of power.
And we're not talking about the Eisenhower Pass. That was a small rise in elevation, very, very unnoticeable to your common car. And yet you could definitely feel 2-3 shifts for it to go through. You can even hear it, which is one of those, I feel like, if it's working that hard, can you just imagine if we were full gross vehicle weight running up a long pass?
And I've had guys, at first I always thought they were exaggerating, I have a load behind me and I'm hitting a hill and I'm losing speed going up the hill.
That's the one I always hear.
No. And then you experience it for the first time, you're like, yeah, no, that's real. That does happen. Yeah. So it's just, you think about the 6.6 motor, you think of how, potent the L5P engines have been for years, and then, the dubbed L5D engine that's in these, they do leave a little to be desired. If I was in the market for one of these trucks and I drove one of these for the first time, I would be questioning, what am I thinking? Yeah,
and it's unfortunate too because you jump in at first for the test drive. It's not like you're hooked up to a trailer.
Exactly.
And where we're experiencing it, it's we're in tune to this, right? We're looking for it. So we notice that when we go up a rise, it does this. But you out on a test drive driving it for the first time, you might not notice. You might not pick up on it. You might not take it somewhere that it's going to matter. So we do get a lot of guys who call us in shock, just absolute disbelief that, oh my God, this has happened. What's going on? Yep. Now, I will say with just an engine tune, we can alleviate most of your complaints.
Yeah, and I think that also, throttle delivery, we can take care of that. Usually by uprating the power and giving the engine a wider operating range, you're going to pick up some fuel mileage, you know. Yep. Not have to apply the throttle as aggressively, which is going to enhance the windshield experience. At the end of the day, I don't want to have to apply the throttle all the way to go nowhere.
Right.
I want to apply the throttle just enough for the vehicle to get up and go and not feel like I'm beating on it. But the unique thing about these trucks specifically, you do the engine tune and you give that engine that wider torque curve, the transmission can now stay in a gear.
Yeah. We
don't have to do the trans tune to tell it to stay in a gear, because trans tuning is not going to fix that, because it's not seeing the engine's torque to maintain that gear in the first place.
Yeah, it's one of the times where you find a shifting issue is actually a power issue.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have that, and it's like, you know, at the end of the day, there's not much you're going to do to disguise a 10, 12, 15,000 pound truck, right? Like, it's very minimal things that you can do to disguise that. But the hopes is, you know, with the calibration, where, you know, we're able to go up to, let's say, stock turbo limitations about 430 horsepower, or in this truck with the turbo, about 530 to the tire. And we've almost doubled the fuel rate, you know, go from the 85 MM3 volume of fuel up to 150 MM3, which is substantial.
It's a lot.
While keeping the catalyst and the DPF clean, while making sure lambda limiters are in check. You know, guys, this isn't a truck that's going to regen often or more often than what it did before. It's not going to be a truck that you're going to see smoke out the tailpipe, or a truck that is going to have a clogged EGR as an outcome. This is going to be a truck set up that makes, you know, almost 550 horsepower and operates like factory, just more good. Right. Just more good, you know.
Well, I think that's it. It's I would almost phrase it as it operates the way you always wanted it to.
Exactly.
The inherent instinction of this is how my truck should be. That's what custom tuning will give to you. Now, when we can match that up with the additional benefits of transmission tuning and then the additional benefits of a turbocharger, I think that's really when we get into a sweet spot. Now, you got to remember too, the truck we're in today, like you said, has, I didn't check, 37 or 40-inch tires on it.
We'll have to correct
huge.
it, but they are big. They fill up the entire wheel well of a 6500.
It is. They're huge. You know, I need a step ladder to get this thing, and I'm 6 foot tall. Like, it's enormous, which also creates a lot of wind drag, and, you know, it's as aerodynamic as a brick. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things working against you. So, no, it's never going to feel like a Corvette, but I'll tell you what, it's 100% drivable. It feels like a normal truck.
Oh, yeah.
Besides the fact that you're, you know, 3 feet higher than you usually are.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were just next, when we pulled out of the shop, out of the parking lot, we were next to a brand new 24 dually GM.
Yeah, which is a big truck.
It's a big truck. And that looked like a little, Volkswagen Jetta or something going in the road. So what I want to do now is, we're going to get up here, we're going to swap out.
Yeah.
But I just want to get on another hill, and I want to put it in the tune file. I just want to feel that downshift, right? I want to see, does it do it, does it not do it? Like, how does the truck respond?
This is a nice, gentle grade that we're approaching here. It's certainly nothing that I think in any other normal 2500 or 3500 would we even experience a downshift, maybe right at the very top end if you were right on the edge of a gear range. But other than that, we really shouldn't have any problems. And you can definitely feel it working harder to maintain speed.
You're getting into the throttle as the hill is increasing.
Yeah. So you're having to kind of drive around the quirks of the truck. You know, which that's the thing with tuning, right? We can do it better. You know, we know the truck's capable of it.
Well, that's a question that we always get. You know, it's, well, why didn't GM do this? Right?
Yeah.
If it's so easy, why didn't GM do it? Well, for one, not every person that owns one of these trucks find these things that we're talking about to be a problem. They think it's normal. It's okay to operate it that way.
Yeah.
And then you have the enthusiast crowd, right? Where they've had tuned trucks. They know how these trucks should operate, what they're accustomed to the vehicle driving like. And they want the truck to drive of a different tiered status, right?
Yeah.
They want it to drive the way that their pickup trucks run, and it's possible.
It is too, and that's the thing is, like, there's a lot of things that guys get wrapped up in these trucks that probably are not to the appeal of you and I, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I wouldn't spend a ton of time on lights or radios or like those kind of fringe things that guys do that are more aesthetics based. That's just really not my bag. But how the truck drives, man, I'll take a rust bucket if it drives the way I want it to.
Oh yeah, 100%. I want to get in it, be comfortable. I want to be able to go A to B in the most comfortable way possible.
Yep. We are coming up, so that was pretty good. So we came up over a crest of a small gradual grade. I think what we'll do is we'll loop around and we'll come up. There's a nice long grade just behind us there.
Okay.
And we'll try dragging ourselves up that. Maybe we'll do that in a no tune, and then we'll do it in a tune and kind of get a comparison.
That's fine.
I love it.
And we'll pull up over here and probably a good time to swap out.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I need some seat time in this thing. I haven't driven anything this ridiculous in a while.
No, well, you're up for a rude awakening.
All right, guys.
All right.
We are
Magic
back.
swap.
Yeah, the magic swap, of course. Now I am driving.
I was just going to say, Paul, we're doing almost 70. You're in that throttle to get 70 out of this thing.
Really just, to be honest with you,
you're at home.
This just feels right. I was just about to say how smooth the truck accelerates, and we haven't even cranked up the tune yet.
No.
There's a small rise here, and then we're going to go up kind of a bigger grade, at least for around here. Guys, we're in northern Illinois. When we say a bigger grade, we mean a bigger grade for flatlanders.
Yeah, we see just a little hill over yonder.
Yeah, that's about what we have. I will say I do not miss the steering in trucks like these, where it is just constant adjustment. There's nothing smooth about how the truck feels, except for its acceleration. I will give it that. Even in the stock tune, it's not fast, it's not aggressive.
I feel like too, though, like no offense, coming from the Jeep, right? Your daily, the throttle's probably going to be a little more similar than like some of the tuned trucks and stuff like that.
For sure. I think that's my thing. Is like I think a lot of times we get into these trucks, and they'll have a dead pedal right off the line where it just feels like there's nothing there. This doesn't have that in sense of a dead pedal. I think what it has is once you're moving and I go to accelerate, the lag between when I stick the throttle and when I actually see the RPMs go up there's a big...
You also just applied the throttle, you heard the RPM and the engine go up, but the vehicle went nowhere.
Went nowhere, right.
Absolutely
did nothing.
Nowhere.
Yeah. So that's more what we're getting out of a truck like this. Now this is a good steep short run here.
You've also had it
downshifted,
and on top of that, you were going into the hill at 60, 65.
Yeah.
So you had really good momentum going.
It also dropped down to 55 even with the downshift. Just so we're clear, like it's not, it's not loving it. I can say that with confidence.
Now, could you imagine being on a longer, steeper grade with weight behind you and the truck just starting the downshift as you're trying to go up the hill just to be able to do the task at hand? And that's the type of complaints we get a bunch of.
All right, now if I remember old hill rod back roads around here, I think Collins should be a pretty good test for us, Chris. I think there's some pretty good ups and downs.
Before you go, let's change up the tuning here now.
Yeah, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There we go.
All right, so this is our street tune. So now we're gonna go and hit. This is kind of like, the kids would call it a roller coaster road. It's some ups and downs. It's not too terrible.
There you go.
We're going to crest these first couple of big peaks, then we should get a drop. We'll see if we need to turn around and come back the other way to really feel it.
I think this will be a good hill right here that we're going to be able to go over to come back.
Yeah. My God, does it drive nicer in 4 than it does in 1?
Give her the whack. What happens now when you get on it?
Yeah, so you can
feel it actually wants to get up and go.
Right away.
Yep.
The road is narrow and there's hills and trees. So we'll take it easy on our speed overall. Especially since I imagine this thing, I just imagine this thing stopping is like anything else this big stopping, like it doesn't want to.
It doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I would have to tend to agree.
So we'll whip it around here. I think that's a pretty good scope on a hill there. That should give us a good test. Let us know, can this thing actually handle some ups and downs with the tune on it? Now, Tune 4, my understanding, should give us the best of the tuning and the turbocharger. So we should actually be calling for enough air and fuel at the same time that we're going to be using both.
Yep.
Turning around in this truck is going to be a bit of a nightmare. So we're going to take it down to an easier spot and come back and hit it. I'm not going to whip a shitty here on the highway. All right. What has she got? Here's a nice easy road. Man, she really
this thing picks up and goes.
It does.
It feels very nimble.
This is Tune 4.
Yeah.
But I promised our boss I would not put it in 5 and whack it.
So this is, like I was saying earlier, this is 180 MM3.
Yeah.
So this is about 530 horsepower is where we're sitting right now. This is a very good air-fuel combination where we get good control over lambda. So this isn't getting crazy with it in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But we're throwing a little at it, right? We're trying to get some power out of this thing and make it more nimble, make it lighter on its feet more or less. And I'll tell you what, I felt like we were in 2.8 over there, man. That thing, you get in it and it got into the shifting through the gears and it just stayed right in its happy range,
Well, it is too. And I think we get a lot of questions around like, hey, can the transmission handle it in these types of trucks? I really haven't had any problems, just to be honest with you. I haven't people reporting like, oh, I tuned it and now my trans is smoked.
Yeah, we've had quite a few customers with similar power packages as this. and we haven't had any negative outcome, but we do line pressure mods in the transmission to increase the line pressure, and then of course the calibration, which on the engine side we have the ability to play with how the truck comes into its torque, with torque limiters and things like that, right? So it's not just getting super aggressive with the truck from a standstill.
All right, so that was all downhill, so we're gonna push it a little bit back coming uphill and see where we're going and what we got with this thing. Yeah, easy traffic today. This is the one I'm always scared of, is making these left turns into a hill. The truck got up and got out of its way.
This thing just muscles right through it. It just seems happier.
It does.
Like that's just the
like we're pulling
best
up,
description.
Pulling up a good little hill right there, and it just climbed it with
engine
with
harmonics too. Like I'm just thinking of like how much of the throttle I had to push going up a hill like that, driving in stock tune.
Yeah.
And then now being in the passenger seat and you driving and we have the tune turned up, it's just like it was just effortless.
It is.
It just went right through it.
And it's so crazy to think that it's the same truck sometimes, right?
Yeah,
like, you're like, wow, it does drive just totally different. It responds different. I need so much less throttle. My foot's barely touching the throttle right now to maintain 60 miles an hour.
How much could a tune really change something? It actually can change the entire dynamic of the operation.
Yes, yes. I think that's the part that, like, still to this day, we've been doing this, God, both of us over a decade now, and it just, every time I drive, something like this especially, where it's so dramatic of a difference, that's where it really kind of wakes me up again of like, man, tuning is pretty fucking cool.
Two things that 11 years doing this, that I still can't figure out how to describe in words is drivability. That's something that is learned and experienced. That's not something that you teach.
Yep.
And then the second thing is what tuning can do to the truck, right? You could talk about shifting, you could talk about throttle input, you could talk about these things, but you have to physically experience it to comprehend it.
Isn't peak power such a limited way to look at what you get out of tuning?
Peak power is the worst way to describe
it's
what
like,
a tune does.
Yeah, sure, 60 horsepower, 150 horsepower, whatever your number is. Man, who cares what that number is? Like, get behind the wheel of one of these. And we were just talking about running over small hills and it's struggling or downshifting. I'm now running up the bigger hills that we were just coming down. This is a bigger hill than
what it was before.
This is the toughest part of the trip we've had so far, right, Chris?
Yeah,
like by far. So. And it's nothing. I'm having to let off the throttle even at the top of the hill.
Wanting to pick up speed.
Yeah, because I'm wanting to run over 60 miles an hour now. Yeah. Like it's literally trying to pull me up and over my target speed. So all three of these small crests just eats them alive. Not a single downshift in sight.
The improved airflow of the turbocharger, which we're not doing a big turbo. This is a very small upgrade just to help with airflow.
This is an STR, is my understanding.
You don't lose low-end response. And then the tuning, and I would say the tuning's the heart and soul.
It is. It is.
This customer in particular just wanted a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're really going to be working the truck hard, and you're really going to be towing for long distances, and you're really going to push it, the turbo to me makes sense. Like having the added airflow to match up with the added fuel that you're using.
Absolutely.
Like what a great way to balance out the truck, Like it's not, an STR is not somebody who wants peak power. They're not somebody who's going to dyno days to run their truck, you know? It's an everyday diesel type of guy truck. Like it's an everyday diesel guy kind of turbo where it's like, you understand your truck, you know what your truck is for. It's a purpose-built vehicle, and the purpose is being used, right? Like on a long-term basis.
No, this thing just reminds me of me being a kid in my sandbox, playing with my Tonka truck, thinking when I get older, I want a full-size badass Tonka truck.
Yes.
And this is the full-size badass Tonka truck.
100%.
That performs.
100%.
Well.
Yes.